How can Austrian economics help businesses manage technology and IT projects? It might sound like a stretch, but in fact, Austrian guidance is immensely helpful. Yousif Almoayyed explains.
This is the Economics for Business podcast. We are here to help all businesses become champions for customers and value, improving lives with preferred and innovative products and services. We offer you the knowledge and tools to make your entrepreneurial journey a successful one. Now, here's your host, Hunter Hastings.
Hi, Hunter Hastings here. Business technology can sometimes feel all-consuming and sometimes even daunting. There's so much to know. The speed of change is disconcertingly fast. The choices to be made can have far-reaching consequences in an uncertain future. We often have to rely on outside experts who claim special knowledge that it's hard for us to verify in advance. How can Austrian economics help? It can help because of its cognitive discipline. Our motto is think better, think Austrian, and we can apply that adage to technology projects and technology management for business. We can use our entrepreneurial journey schema that organizes any project or any business or task into its component parts, thought of not as a plodding process, one step after another, but as a dynamic combination and recombination of the right assets and the right resources to generate the right end-user experience with the right knowledge flow leading to it. We can think about forming and negotiating the right partnerships with the right outcome focus. We can apply the Austrian focus of value, making sure we develop a thorough and detailed understanding of, first, what consumer or customer value will an IT project facilitate, and always looking through the consumer's eyes first. If you're operating in the B2B space, think of the value experience your customer will have, but also think all the way through to the experience their customer will have. And if that customer's customer is a consumer, those are the eyes to look through. And since customer experience is inextricably intertwined with employee experience, your employees can't deliver great customer service if they don't have the right technology or don't have mastery of what they do have. Think through your employee experience using the same perspective of thinking further to your customer and further still to the ultimate consumer. How do you set objectives for an IT project? How do you select vendors? How do you negotiate contracts? How do you manage when mid-course corrections are called for? We're going to try to address all these questions and more. Our guide today is Yousif Almoayyed, a returning guest. Yousif runs a conglomerate of businesses focused in the construction sector of the economy. It's a complex set of businesses requiring the procurement of raw materials, both locally and imported, the manufacture of products to exacting standards, the provision of on-time and efficient service and deliveries, relationship management, and cash flow management. The business involves high-cost capital goods and careful economic calculation of the revenue flows from those capital goods in an environment of fluctuating costs and market prices. Technology is critical, both for the management and service provision. Yousif's degrees are in engineering, math, and computer science. He preferred to learn business on the job rather than via an MBA. Part of his self-directed business education was the reading and thoughtful analysis of Austrian economic texts and the practiced application of the principles gleaned from his nonstop reading. Yousif, welcome again to the Economics for Business podcast.
Thank you, Hunter. It's a pleasure to be on your show again.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back here. And we all want entrepreneurs to see economics as fundamentally helpful to everything they undertake in business. And we're going to talk today about one of the almost universal concerns and pervasive tasks, which is selecting, installing, and managing technology for business, or IT, if we want to call it that. You can't be an entrepreneur without it. It's required for both efficiency and effectiveness. It's constantly changing, and that's a challenge. So we invite you to help us, Yousif. You're a very successful business owner and operator of a business. You're always thinking deeply about how to apply principles of Austrian economics effectively in your business. And you're on the leading edge of applying technology for improving your business. You manage a lot of IT projects. So let's go through some of your thinking about applying economic thought and economic principles to IT and IT projects. We talked about starting with means ends thinking, but you take it away from there.
Okay, let me try and see how we can use the categories in in Austrian economics to sort out what's going on in an IT project. So yes, like you said, you have means and ends, and you have to think on the margin. For example, each investment, what is its marginal cost and the expected marginal benefit from that. And then technology is a means, and you have to understand the capabilities that come from the technology, and they're companies that their job is to apply this technology to achieve your ends. So the other concepts in economics apply to, like the law of returns. So if you apply a certain thing, you will get some benefit out of it, and you can get a return on your investment. You can get savings, and keeping track of these things is important, and justifying your decisions. Sometimes things in combination give you a benefit, but alone may not be so beneficial. So these things need to be thought through. One more thing that I need to mention is, in any IT project, there are various roles that are played. Among these roles are the person selling the software license. These people are mainly driven by sales targets, the interests of these various groups, and how they may be in conflict. So before you even embark on a project, you have to understand the interests of these parties and how to align these interests in your favor. I mean, you don't want to make someone else make a more profit the worse a job he does, or the more he's delayed. So anyway, let me go back to my categories. So you have the people selling the licenses. The people selling the licenses are driven by sales targets. They tend to always oversell. They tend to not look at your business and how suitable the solution is to your business, because they just have a sales target. And after that, you have the integrator. So this person is the person that's going to integrate the software with your plant, with your business, and he would love to charge you on time and material. Mm-hmm. And then that means that any delay is totally on you. The risk is entirely on you. And many times in the scope of the contract, it's advisable, like we said, we talked about means and ends. So you want to describe in the scope your end. You don't want to describe your means. So let's say, simple project. Let's say you want to detect fuel theft. But if the guy writes in the scope that we're going to detect sudden drops in fuel, I didn't say sudden. The goal is to detect theft of fuel. So if he says, okay, we're just sending reports. He went over a bump and a report was sent out. Look, the reports are sending. I did my job. Now you have to pay me. So this, if you go in the scope document and if you define what specifically has to do to achieve your end, he can actually do that, and it wouldn't achieve your end, and you still have to pay him. So you should not be spoon feeding these people what to do, and it should be tied to your milestones, which are defined as the end. You should not open this black box and look inside and solve the problem for them. So
Yeah.
this is my thinking on this. And sorry, just one more thing: a project manager, you cannot rely on the integrator to use his software, his project manager. You need your own project manager that is on your side.
So thinking about ends, Yousif, the end of the business is to serve a customer and to give the customer a good experience at lowest cost, so we can include cost reduction as ends as well. But can I keep those business ends in mind? Because often it seems to me that technology has its own ends, and we sometimes miss whether or not it's serving the customer.
I mean, you are right. I mean, people do hype up technology, but I've seen so many misapplications of technology. Like, I've seen these garbage cans that open by motion detection, and half the time they don't work. And this is a misapplication of tech. It's worse than a mechanical, or the one where you stamp your foot down and the top of the trash opens. So I'm telling you that this is a misapplication of technology. Like, I've seen systems that are so slow that writing it down with a pen is faster. So this is, again, a misapplication of technology. You have to see, have you advanced or not advanced? Have you achieved any business goals? So it has to be driven by the business goals. It cannot be driven by the accounts or the finance. These are supporting functions. Yes, they're very important, but you cannot drive the business from the accounts. You need to have the benefit to your operations. You have to gather your requirements accurately. You have to define the scope. You have to know what's possible from the technology. I want to also share one thing. A lot of people, when they use lockdown software and devices, and even like an iPhone, typically they always mention the iPhone and other proprietary software. People are sometimes not aware of what's possible with these devices if it weren't for these licenses and these limitations. This is something that each person has to explore. I mean, if someone is interested in technology, they should always be looking at the open source space, Raspberry Pi projects. I see increasingly sophisticated projects on Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone, Arduino, and many things can be prototyped from there. And you made me open a GitHub account and got me exploring people's projects. So there's so many interesting projects. Just go through them. Like, I just typed facial recognition. I found a package to recognize emotions in people's faces. I think you mentioned it in one of your podcasts.
Right,
with,
sentiment and technology.
But I'm just saying that this surprised me. Even like, if you look at a license plate reader, there are hundreds of license plate readers, even for like mainland China license plate readers. So any kind of license plate.
So then you said that requires, we talk about economic processes being knowledge-based, and entrepreneurship, running a business is one of those. There's a lot of knowledge that we need. It sounds like it's a little bit, it's difficult to encompass all the knowledge that you could possibly use. How do you think about collating all the knowledge you need when you're running an IT project?
Well, you're obviously going to make mistakes, and I think it's a mistake to be afraid of making mistakes. I mean, you have to have some mistakes. You have to, push yourself to your limit, or everyone has a different limit depending on your budget and whatever other constraints. But there's a lot. I mean, the key thing that goes into it is an understanding of the business.
Mhm.
If you can describe exactly what you do in your business, this is the key thing. If you know what you want, the IT people themselves will want to work with you because you know what you want. You're not all over the place. So if you think clearly about your business and you understand it, I think, I think you would be a very desired customer for any IT company. So it does require a lot. It does require a lot of knowledge from many different fields. Math certainly helps. Some knowledge of math,
Mhm.
computer science, at least enough to talk to people that are in the field would help. And then economic knowledge can provide lots of insights in many places, because exactly how are you making the decision? What information do you need? How does that information inform your decision? So you need to be clear. I mean, that information means something only through a theory of how the business works.
Mhm.
So through that you can make decisions on the information. And I think economics, it gives you an idea what information you can safely ignore. You're better qualified to judge that.
Yep.
A quick note. Did you know that we provide supplemental materials for each podcast? Listening to and understanding the key takeaways from our expert guests helps you think better about building a more beautiful business. Taking direct action and implementing these strategies is when the real work begins. Take a concrete, immediate step to implementing a better business model today by downloading the show notes and business tool we've created for this episode. Visit Mises.org/E4Bpod. That's MISES.org/E4BPOD and click on today's episode. Now, back to our interview.
So one of the ways you've talked to me about going through that process is asking the right questions. I think you said asking healthy questions. So how do I compile the right questions? How do I know what the right questions to ask in any IT project? How do I think through all of those questions?
Well, it's not, obviously it's not a top-down process. You need input from everyone, and in the beginning it's not very organized, but eventually an order emerges and you get a clearer picture of what each person wants and needs. Some people are a bit timid. They won't talk much. They won't express their needs. They may not articulate it well. But I feel that if they, having the buy-in of the users is one of the most important things. This is, there are lots of fields that can help you, like, project management. This would be called stakeholder management, even management of scope. You don't want, you want the scope to be clearly defined. There's cost management, risk management, scheduling. So project, definitely being aware with the concepts of project management or having a qualified project manager would be a plus.
And then you talked about project management and the project manager. You mentioned to me, I think one time there's a whole project management book of knowledge that we have to master, right? To run
it's a professional body that sets standards for project management, and I think people would benefit from at least reading it and being familiar with the concepts. I would recommend having a project manager that at least has an IT background.
Mm-hmm.
So because if you're dealing with many technical people, or you're on behalf of the client managing different vendors, you need to know when people are giving reasonable excuses and when they're being unreasonable. Mm-hmm. A lot of internal IT are used to how to say, like, they have a bit of unchecked power inside their organizations. They have power over all the hardware and the software, and they're not that much questioned. So when a person feels he knows more about his subject matter than another person, it's hard for you to question him and nail it down, where the problem is coming from. He could easily misdirect you. So I think having the right people on board, finding the most qualified people, explaining to them your vision, they will join you if you have a clear idea what you want. It's not a difficult task if you just speak clearly and think about it before approaching these people. You will get the interest. Okay, you have to be aware of the market rates, and you have to pay a competitive market rate, but they would prefer, given a better customer, someone that knows exactly what he wants, they'd prefer that. All else equal, they'd prefer that person as a customer.
Although sometimes when that part of the corporation has the power that you're talking about, one of the risks is mission creep. They have some other things that they want to creep into the project, and hey, to do that, we've got to do this, which is another extension of the project scope. How do you manage against creep?
That is under scope management. So that falls under scope and project management. So you have to, sometimes in IT projects, they have the agile methodologies where the scope isn't fully defined in the beginning. So you would maybe make a quick prototype and then clarify exactly what you're going to do next. But you wouldn't know ahead of time exactly what you want. That, I believe, is called the waterfall method, which is used in architecture. You have to know exactly the size of your house when you pour the foundation. You can't change these things later when you feel like it.
It's not agile.
It's not agile for sure. So that's so it depends how difficult things are and how clearly you can see things. But I think most people need to start with basic projects and things like ERPs and using them correctly. I see a lot of ERPs not used, not fully used, and not used well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it used to be the case that the software providers require the company to change in order to utilize all of the capabilities that the software has. Is that still a problem today?
Well, see, some companies customize parts that they don't like. It's not recommended that you customize because when they do an update, your customizations need to be done again. It's most of the time the best practices are built in, and they decided on these best practices. I mean, you can obviously from the vendor and the integrator, the software integrator, you will ask them for references who you will have to call, and you'll have to check, is it working in your type of business? So you need to call up those customers and check, are they really satisfied? Because I have seen, I mean, so many people get their hand burned from trying something in software.
Mm-hmm. So let's look through the other end of the telescope a little bit, and the good end, Yousif.
The good end.
Technology could often change the capacity of my company. It can, you use the term changing the boundaries of the company because you network into other resources and other markets and other channels. It can change the capabilities of the company. So are those goals that I can set for technology, or is that kind of an ongoing process that emerges?
And I think you have to try these things out, and you can't tell ahead of time. I mean, all that happened due to COVID accelerated this trend of working from home, having the collaboration tools. We don't know. I mean, some companies became more productive due to COVID. I mean, schools don't have to pay for electricity, and where I live, they have to pay for air conditioning. Most of it is air conditioning. Mm-hmm. And some companies, like IT companies, they found themselves to be even more productive, and they boasted more profits during Corona. So they're seeing a boost in productivity. Where no one has to come to the office. They can, there's no need for transport. I don't know if people are claiming their tickets and traveling. So I don't know. These tools definitely boost productivity inside the firm, and there are other services that can do a lot of the internal work. Services like Upwork, you can manage a whole tender process, and people can bid to do the job, and they'll have there's a rating system, and you can talk to their previous clients. So there's all of this out there, and these tools make it so that the minimum viable firm is now even smaller.
Right. Or a different way to think about that, and the way I like to think about it, is that you're a very important node. Your firm is a very important node in a network, a value generation network that is faster, more productive. It's more, it's higher speed, it's lower cost. You just need to find your right place and be a good node in the network.
And, there's trust built up with people you dealt with before. And if that trust is built up, and you can, the team is good, and you can retain the talent, you can be more productive, even with these changing boundaries. Mm-hmm. Not every firm is well managed, and it's a nice place to be in. Everywhere is different, and there's a lot of transparency on that. People are reviewing the places they work in. I'm seeing in India, there's a huge turnover in the IT industry. They're just jumping from one company to another, and very fast. I mean, normally from my experience working with Indians, they used to stay a longer period in each company.
So how do you deal with that? How do you keep your project team stable?
I mean, it is a challenge. Your knowledge is lost all the time, and you just each new project. Maybe you can't. I mean, I hate teaching someone from the beginning about the business or introducing the business again. That is an annoyance for me. it is important that you have some knowledge carried over from the first project to your next project. You don't want a completely new team. So you need to find the right people, maybe retain them internally rather than put them with the outside vendor. But I mean, it would be worth considering, because the amount of time it takes for people to learn your business and spend time with you, it takes time. I mean, I would recommend working with people that have already done this in your field, rather than coming and learning.
Yeah, well,
that's another mistake.
Talking about your field, Yousif, this is a way I think you can really help the folks who are listening. You work in a very it's a hard asset business, right? You're in construction. You're pouring concrete. That's one of the many things that you do. But the construction industry isn't always noted for its technological advancement. But then you're trying to improve your firm with your application of technology. How do you manage that in an industry that perhaps isn't so IT centric?
Okay, it's simple. I mean, you have a fleet. You have jobs. You need to maintain them well. You need to schedule efficiently. Your scheduling is another IT problem. It's a difficult problem. It's actually one of the complicated problems. That you cannot be 100% sure that you're the most efficient. So this is a challenge. I mean, I don't have automatic scheduling right now, but that is an aim in the future. So, okay, tracking your vehicles. I mentioned earlier, detecting theft, maintaining the vehicles well, monitoring commodity prices, buying and selling at the best time, maintaining good relations with the suppliers, negotiating the best prices, pricing competitively. And I mean, there's a lot, getting the right people, getting the best people, putting incentive systems, not working on overtime. I mean, overtime was one, wherever there was overtime, I found the people are deliberately slowing work down. So finally, they went through each division and eliminated overtime and made it incentive-based system.
Yeah, so that's economics rather than technology. But I hear you saying you're setting goals that are specific to the business. You're identifying problems to solve, and then you ask, "Can technology help me here?"
Well, yeah. So there is, you have the people, you have your people. So you have to select the best people. You have to choose the best people. I can't directly interact with all the people down the line, but I can set the standard for the top people and try and choose good and capable managers and supervisors. And then you have the processes, which you need to look and continuously re-examine. And then you have your application of technology wherever it can help. And this is a hobby of mine, and I did study telecom. I didn't finish I did not complete my undergraduate in it, but I do have a lot of related interests in the field, and I still keep studying it because I just follow my interests, and these interests somehow, my technical interests all converged in business. Originally, I did not have an interest in business, but I found that I can use economics, which at the time was the latest thing that I learned, and my other technical knowledge, and I felt, okay, I think I can do a better job than others.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to be a technology expert. You've got to be a good business manager.
Well, you need a cross section of different skills, but you can find other people to complete wherever you have gaps. I mean, I can't know everything, but I love staying in touch with people that know a lot. Friends, other experts.
Yeah, your network.
Yeah.
One area we've touched on it, but we haven't dug into it deeply is data, and all the talk in technology is about big data, and you've talked about data on truck scheduling and maintenance and those kinds of things. How do you feel about the generation of data through technology and what you can learn from it? Is that something to seek, or is it something that just is an emergent property of your technology that you can?
Well, I mean, I see a lot of applications, but the use cases, I mean, some of the use cases that were presented to me were a little laughable. So before the guy finishes his example of a use case, I ask him, okay, can I guess what the answer is? And I guess the answer, and it's a simple thing like, okay, the distance was the key factor. They said, no, we took 20 bits of data, we number crunched. I said, I think it's the distance that's causing people not to visit the branches or whatever the example he gave me. So many examples are laughable. You need to find the applications that suit your business. I hear people, Walmart tracks, your Bluetooth MAC address. There's number plate recognition, there is vehicle recognition, there's facial recognition. I mean, this video processing, we don't know where it's going, but I don't think if you use facial recognition, how are you adding value? I mean, I don't see that's going to add value in each business. But you need to watch where these things apply in your field. Mm-hmm. Data in the end, it only means something through a theory, through connecting these bits of data and understanding their causal connections. So if you don't have a proper understanding of your market, I don't think any amount of data can help you. Yep. I mean, a lot of information from the market is, it's inferred, it's incomplete, it's an indication here and there, and that's enough to arrive at a judgment whether a price is going up or down, whether you should stock up, whether you should sell your stock. So, I mean, see, China, they created an aggregate score for people. Yeah.
Right, the social score.
Yeah, the social credit score, and they put restrictions if your score is down. I don't think it has any relevance. I mean, if you pass a red light, it has nothing to do with whether if you're going to pay your loan on time, your scheduled payments on time. Yeah. So these things aren't related to each other. There isn't a high correlation in the relationship between these things. So I would be interested in asking China, so what are your use cases for this aggregate number?
Right. I came across an expression the other day, Industry 4.0. I think it was on Accenture that I was reading, but where advanced technologies are reinventing products and services from design and engineering to manufacturing support. The technology is doing the inventing and the advancing of the processes. So one example of that is generative design. If you put enough parameters in into the software, it'll design something. So you can say, I want a chair that's this high and it's got 4 legs and it can take this amount of weight, but other than that, you design it. You tell the software to design it, and you get hundreds and thousands of options back, and you can choose one. But the software is doing a kind of design. What's your thinking about the future?
I mean, it sounds very interesting. I mean, it sounds that you're going along the line of 3D printing and complete customization. When they talk about Industry 4.0, I mean, I know how these plants work, and I don't think they can afford to do huge projects in Industry 4.0. I mean, normal manufacturing facilities are not that big, and they don't have such huge budgets to use large IT firms like Accenture or others. And I think that this is going to be more bottom up, and I think it's going to come from smaller firms, and this 3D printing. It is more expensive, but the delivery time, like the benefits of not holding things in stock and versus keeping inventory. So these things need to be weighed, and slowly, one solution will be better than the other. So I don't see. I mean, there's a lot of hype about things, and you don't know if are these industrial people. I mean, the brightest people are not all going into industry. Many of them want to sit in office jobs. So I don't think you're getting many people, the way they run things in industries or small factories, they behave like craftsmen. They don't want to change the way they're doing things. So you need to, it completely depends on how much competition there is in that sector. And I think you'd find a more competitive sector would be forced to question whatever they're already following, and maybe forced to try new things. So I can admit, yes, I was under pressure to try new things and try and innovate and do a better job. So I was under pressure, but I think a lot of people that don't feel that pressure from competition will not. They never feel that they have to do an a digital transformation.
And a last question on the application of technology to businesses like yours. Is artificial intelligence relevant to your kind of business? It's a word that's thrown out a lot in technology. It's supposed to help everyone. Have you had intersections with AI, and what's your advice?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by AI. I mean, recognizing patterns and predicting, or still I have not encountered this, and I haven't seen really good use cases. And I've heard the same buzzwords about AI, and sometimes when someone doesn't want to answer a question, you say, but the AI is just going to solve it. So I say, okay, how's the AI going to solve it? He says it's an AI, So I think every AI you can actually break it down and explain how it works. So yeah, maybe route optimization or something along these lines would may have some AI in it, but what do you call it? These video recognition and facial recognition. This is what do you call it? What do you call it? It is a kind of machine learning. You feed it in the data. You feed it data, and it refines and recognizes better. You feed it training data. So this is machine learning. There are simpler things like what Amazon does, where it just finds a cluster of patterns and recommends. If you buy a bunch of things in a certain cluster, they'll recommend other things inside that cluster. So that's not that difficult. I mean, anyone can understand that conceptually. And I think anyone that tries to hide behind AI, they should be able to explain to you exactly how the AI works from the inside. I mean, it's not beyond an intelligent person's understanding to grasp it.
Right. Don't be fearful of it. Well, let's see if we can sum up. If I
Okay.
Well, I have it in my head. You've said, know your business, know the problems that you want to solve or the situations that you want to improve. Be knowledgeable as much as you can, not only about technology, but about your business and about economics. Assemble the right team, and you can do that by asking the right questions of them, and then manage the project tightly. That's
and checking references.
Yeah.
Checking their references.
Yeah.
Calling them up.
That means calling their former customers up, right? Did they?
Right,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Good.
So
summary, what else can you add?
That sounds like a good summary. I mean, I hope some of the things I mentioned here could be useful to people listening, and maybe they can avoid mistakes that I made.
Well, good. And you've said, hey, economics helps us to think this through in the right way. It helps us to ask the right questions. And you also said, which is a very Austrian point of view, I think, is you're going to make mistakes, be prepared for them, and make the adjustment afterwards.
I mean, if you're not making any mistakes, you're probably not doing something hard enough. Mm-hmm. You should push a little higher. You should aim a little higher.
Yeah. Good. Well, good. Well, thank you, Yousif. You've been very helpful today, and as always,
thank you.
Very practical in applying all of these somewhat complex cases to your real business, which you're a great manager of, and it's a great example for all of us.
Thank you very much. I mean, I hope this bridges the gap. You know, I'm showing you how all these different things intersect with each other and can inform you on how all these different things can come together to improve a business.
Yep. Yeah, we talk about entrepreneurs and business managers as orchestrators, and I think that's a good word to use in this situation. You're orchestrating an awful lot of things, but you've got to get a good tune coming out of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Good. Okay. Yousif, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Hunter. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Economics for Business is a production of the Mises Institute. To explore more content like this, visit Mises.org. And for more from Hunter Hastings, visit hunterhastings.com.